Some games come out, sell a couple million copies, collect a few Game of the Year awards, and quietly fade into history. Then there are these games, the ones that somehow end up in your house, your cousin's house, your grandma's house, and somehow your dentist's waiting room. From plumbers saving princesses for the 100th time to criminals somehow becoming beloved protagonists, these games didn't just break sales records, they completely rewrote them. Some rode brand new consoles, some became internet obsessions, and one of them has sold so many copies that if every player stood in one line, the queue would probably still be loading. So grab your controller, keyboard, or whatever bizarre motion accessory Nintendo convinced your family to buy. These are the 20 best-selling video games of the 21st century, counting down from number 20. Kicking things off is Super Mario Odyssey, released in 2017 for the Nintendo Switch. By this point, Mario had already spent decades jumping on turtles, rescuing Princess Peach, and somehow never asking for overtime. But Odyssey decided that wasn't weird enough. This time, Mario got a magical hat named Cappy, and suddenly possessing enemies became a perfectly normal gameplay mechanic. Need to become a dinosaur? Sure. A traffic cone? Why not? An electric wire? Apparently that's legal now. Nintendo basically looked at every object in the game and said, yeah, Mario can probably wear that. Players loved the freedom. Huge kingdoms replaced tiny levels, exploration became the focus, and every few seconds there was another power moon hiding somewhere ridiculous. You'd climb a mountain searching for treasure, only to discover the moon was actually behind a random tree 5 minutes ago. Oh, classic Nintendo. Selling well over 30 million copies, Odyssey proved that after more than 30 years, Mario could still reinvent himself, which is honestly impressive considering the man has had the same job outfit since the 1980s. Not bad for an Italian plumber who still hasn't fixed a single pipe. Next up are Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. By 2022, you'd think players would finally stop trying to catch every Pokemon. They did not. Instead, Game Freak introduced the franchise's first fully open-world main adventure. No more strict routes, no more invisible walls politely telling you where to go. Just one giant region filled with creatures waiting to either become your best friend or absolutely destroy your starter Pokemon. It was ambitious. It was exciting. It also launched with enough technical issues to make your frame rate question its own existence. And somehow, it still became one of the fastest-selling Nintendo games ever. Because here's the thing about Pokemon fans. If you let them discover new monsters, they will forgive almost anything. Well, almost. People traded online, battled friends, shiny hunted for hundreds of hours, and somehow convinced themselves that spending 6 real hours looking for one differently colored creature was relaxing. Let that sink in. Scarlet and Violet crossed over 26 million copies sold, proving that even after more than 25 years, Pokemon remained one of the biggest entertainment franchises on Earth. Tiny monsters, massive numbers. Released in 2015, The Witcher 3 took fantasy RPGs and politely reminded everyone else to step up their game. You play as Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter with white hair, 2 swords, and the emotional expression of someone who's seen every side quest imaginable. Instead of simply saving the world, players found themselves helping ghosts, solving murders, hunting mythical beasts, and somehow spending 20 hours playing a fictional card game called Gwent. Seriously, some people bought an RPG and accidentally became professional card players. Every quest felt handcrafted. Even tiny side missions had better writing than some full-priced games. Then came the expansions. Most DLC packs add a few missions. The Witcher 3 added expansions so massive they could have been sold as separate games. No wonder sales kept climbing year after year. Thanks to word of mouth, constant discounts, Netflix boosting the franchise's popularity, and a next-generation update years later, The Witcher 3 eventually surpassed 60 million copies sold. Not bad for a game where your biggest enemy is often deciding which dialogue option will ruin someone's life slightly less life. Imagine spending 8 years making one game! That's exactly what Rockstar did with Red Dead Redemption 2! Released in 2018, it wasn't just another open-world game, it was basically a digital Wild West simulator! Your horse remembered where you left it, weapons got dirty, beards grew naturally, NPCs remembered how you treated them! Meanwhile, most of us couldn't even remember where we parked our horse 5 minutes ago! You played as Arthur Morgan, an outlaw trying to survive while the age of cowboys slowly disappeared. It was emotional, cinematic, and somehow convinced millions of players that slowly riding through forests while sad music played counted as entertainment. And honestly, it did. Rockstar packed the world with unbelievable detail. You could hunt animals, rob trains, fish, gamble, shave, camp, or simply spend an hour greeting strangers. Or antagonizing them. Usually both. Selling more than 74 million copies, Red Dead Redemption 2 became one of the highest-selling games ever, despite being slower than most action games. Turns out quality speaks louder than explosions, although Rockstar included plenty of those too. At first glance, Terraria looked like someone flattened Minecraft into 2 dimensions. Big mistake. Released in 2011 by Relogic, Terraria quietly became one of gaming's greatest success stories. Yes, you could dig. Yes, you could build, but that's where the similarities ended. Terraria was absolutely packed with weapons, armor, bosses, hidden biomes, magical items, and enough crafting recipes to make your inventory look like a chemistry textbook exploded. Every time you thought you'd reach the end, another boss appeared, another biome unlocked, another sword somehow did 3 times more damage. The progression just kept going. The developers also refused to stop updating it. Multiple times they announced, this is the final update. Then another update arrived. Then another. At this point, the community treats Final Update the same way movie fans treat one last sequel. Nobody believes it anymore. Thanks to endless support and an incredibly loyal fan base, Terraria has sold well over 60 million copies across nearly every platform imaginable. Not bad for a pixel game that many people initially dismissed as 2D Minecraft. Yeah, that comparison didn't age particularly well. Then came 2020. The world slowed down. Everyone stayed home. And suddenly, millions of people decided that paying virtual mortgages to a raccoon sounded surprisingly comforting. Released in March 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons became exactly the game people needed. No pressure, no enemies, no game over screen. Just decorating your island, catching bugs, fishing, planting flowers, and somehow spending 40 minutes deciding where one chair should go. Tom Nook, meanwhile, quietly handed out house loans with absolutely no deadlines. Honestly, he's either the nicest landlord in history or running the most suspicious financial operation ever created. Celebrities played it, families played it, friends visited each other's islands online. Some players recreated entire cities. Others recreated famous movies, and a surprising number simply spent hundreds of hours collecting furniture, because priorities. New Horizons became a cultural phenomenon almost overnight, eventually selling over 47 million copies. Proof that sometimes the biggest gaming hit isn't about saving the world. By 2019, Pokémon had already conquered handheld gaming for over 2 decades, so when Pokémon Sword and Shield arrived on the Nintendo Switch, expectations were sky high. And then, the internet immediately started arguing. Some fans were furious because not every Pokemon made it into the game. Others couldn't stop talking about the graphics. If there's one thing Pokemon fans are better at than catching monsters, it's debating literally everything. Despite the controversy, Sword and Shield introduced the massive wild area, a huge open zone where players could freely explore, battle giant Dynamax Pokemon, and actually see wild creatures roaming around instead of randomly appearing from tall grass every 5 steps. Finally, no more being ambushed by a level 3 bird every 12 seconds. The online features were expanded, max raid battles encouraged co-op play, and the DLC replaced the traditional 3rd version for the first time in the series. It was a huge shift for Pokemon's formula. And guess what? People bought it anyway. A lot of people. With over 27 million copies sold, Sword and Shield became one of the best-selling Pokemon games ever, proving that even when fans spend months complaining online, they'll still line up on release day. Funny how that works. There are games that release once. Then there's Skyrim. Released in 2011 by Bethesda, Skyrim dropped players into a massive fantasy world filled with dragons, ancient ruins, magic, and approximately 8,000 side quests you were never supposed to ignore. Your mission? Defeat Alduin, the World Eater. What did most players actually do? Pick flowers, join the Thieves Guild, become a vampire, buy a house, collect cheese wheels. The dragon could wait. Skyrim gave players incredible freedom. You weren't forced down one path. You could be a warrior, a mage, a stealth archer. Actually, let's be honest. Almost everyone eventually became a stealth archer. It's practically a law of nature. The game's modding community then took things even further. Fans added new quests, graphics, companions, weapons, and somehow replaced dragons with Thomas the Tank Engine. Because of course they did. Bethesda also kept re-releasing Skyrim on nearly every platform imaginable. PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, VR. Smart fridge? Probably next. With more than 60 million copies sold, Skyrim became one of gaming's most enduring legends. Some games fade away after launch. Skyrim just keeps respawning. If you've ever clicked a mouse so many times that your fingers started negotiating with you, you've probably played Diablo III. Released by Blizzard in 2012, Diablo III perfected one simple formula. Walk into dungeon, destroy everything, collect loot, repeat until sunrise. The combat was ridiculously satisfying. Every defeated monster exploded into showers of gold, weapons, armor, gems, and enough colorful numbers to make your screen resemble a slot machine. Your brain loved it. Your sleep schedule did not. The launch wasn't exactly smooth. Millions of players tried logging in at once, which led to the infamous Error 37. Imagine buying a game, installing it, getting excited, only for the servers to politely tell you no. That became one of gaming's biggest memes overnight. Thankfully, Blizzard fixed the problems, expanded the game with Reaper of Souls, and completely transformed Diablo III into one of the most addictive action RPGs ever made. Seasons kept players coming back year after year, always chasing slightly stronger gear than the sword they found 5 minutes earlier. Because apparently, 2% more damage is a perfectly reasonable reason to play another 100 hours. Diablo III eventually surpassed 65 million copies sold, proving that gamers will happily grind forever, as long as the loot sparkles enough. Mario had already saved Princess Peach more times than anyone could count. So Nintendo asked a different question. What if 4 people all tried to save her at the same time? Chaos. Absolute chaos! Released in 2009, New Super Mario Bros. Wii brought 4-player cooperative platforming into living rooms around the world. In theory, everyone worked together. In reality, someone always picked up another player and threw them directly into a pit. Friendship was optional. The game combined classic side-scrolling Mario gameplay with modern multiplayer, introducing new power-ups like the propeller suit, while keeping the familiar formula that made Mario famous decades earlier. It looked simple. It wasn't. Especially when 4 players squeezed onto one tiny platform while arguing over who grabbed the last power-up. Parents played it, kids played it, grandparents accidentally jumped into lava. Everyone had a great time. Well, mostly. Selling over 30 million copies, New Super Mario Bros. Wii became one of the Wii's biggest successes and proved that couch co-op wasn't dead. It was just waiting for someone to accidentally throw Luigi off another cliff. Now here's one of gaming's biggest redemption stories. When Cyberpunk 2077 launched in 2020, it was rough. And rough might actually be the nicest word available. Players discovered hilarious bugs almost immediately. Cars flew into space, NPCs vanished, police officers appeared behind you from another dimension, characters forgot they were wearing clothes, Night City was futuristic, just not intentionally. The internet had a field day. Many people wrote the game off completely, but CD Projekt Red refused to give up. Over the next few years, massive updates fixed countless problems, overhauled gameplay systems, introduced new features, and culminated with the critically acclaimed Phantom Liberty expansion. Slowly, opinions changed. Players returned, new fans jumped in, and people finally experienced the incredible story, unforgettable characters, and breathtaking open world that had been buried beneath the launch day chaos. Sometimes all a game needs is about 3 years of patch notes. Cyberpunk 2077 has now sold well over 30 million copies, making it one of the greatest comeback stories in gaming history. Turns out, first impressions aren't always the final boss. Alright, this one needs a tiny asterisk. Pokemon Red and Blue originally launched in the 1990s, but its influence carried straight into the 21st century. Without these games, half the entries on this list probably wouldn't even exist. The idea sounded almost too simple. Catch monsters, train them, battle your friends, repeat until your Game Boy battery surrendered. Then came the school playground economy. Kids traded Pokemon with link cables like they were Wall Street brokers. Want my Charizard? Only if you throw in a Mewtwo. Entire friendships were built and occasionally destroyed. Nintendo made one genius decision, splitting the game into two versions with exclusive Pokemon. Suddenly, completing the Pokédex meant convincing another human being to cooperate, or bribing your cousin. The formula became one of the most successful in gaming history, spawning movies, TV shows, trading cards, and enough merchandise to fill an entire shopping mall. Combined, Pokemon Red and Blue have sold over 31 million copies, laying the foundation for one of the biggest entertainment franchises ever created. Turns out, catching them all was a pretty good business strategy. Racing games usually reward the fastest driver. Mario Kart looked at that idea and threw a blue shell at it. Released on the Nintendo Switch in 2017, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe took an already fantastic Wii U game, polished everything, added more content, and somehow became even bigger the second time around, because apparently millions of people never owned a Wii U. Can't imagine why. The controls were simple enough for anyone to play. Winning? That was another story. You could drive the perfect race for 3 laps, build a huge lead, see the finish line, and then... blue shell, lightning, red shell, banana! Somehow you finish 8th. Perfectly balanced. Every race felt different, every shortcut mattered, and every family game night eventually ended with someone insisting the game is cheating. No, the blue shell just hates confidence. With over 68 million copies sold, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe became the best-selling Nintendo Switch game ever. Proof that friendships are temporary. Blue shells are forever. Before Battle Royales dominated gaming, they were just a weird idea. Drop 100 strangers onto an island, give them almost nothing. Watch the panic begin. That was PUBG. Released into early access in 2017, it exploded almost overnight. Inspired by mods created by Brendan PlayerUnknown Green, PUBG transformed survival into one gigantic last-person standing competition. Every match started the same way. Jump from a plane, pray nobody lands beside you. Immediately discover that 3 people definitely landed beside you. Fantastic. The tension was unlike anything players had experienced before. Finding a decent weapon felt like winning the lottery. Hearing footsteps instantly increased your heart rate by about 400%. And don't even mention the shrinking blue zone. That thing has probably caused more panic than most horror games. PUBG wasn't the first battle royale, but it was the game that turned the genre into a global phenomenon. Soon everyone wanted their own version. Some copied the formula, others improved it. One particular game painted everything brighter and danced after eliminations. We'll get there. PUBG has sold over 75 million copies on PC and consoles, making it one of the best-selling games ever and changing multiplayer gaming forever. Sometimes all you need is one island and 99 people trying to ruin your day. After the original Wii Sports became a worldwide phenomenon, Nintendo had one obvious question. What if we made people swing their arms even more? Enter Wii Sports Resort. Released in 2009, alongside the new Wii Motion Plus accessory, it upgraded Nintendo's motion controls from close enough to, hey, that actually worked. This time, you weren't just bowling. You were sword fighting, flying airplanes, playing table tennis, archery, basketball, wakeboarding, basically every vacation activity, except paying for overpriced airport food. The fictional Woohoo Island became Nintendo's version of a tropical paradise, where nobody had jobs, everyone smiled constantly, and sports somehow solved every problem. It was also one of those rare games where grandparents could beat teenagers without memorizing 40-button combos. Turns out, experience matters, especially when you're holding a virtual sword. Selling over 33 million copies, Wii Sports Resort proved the Wii wasn't a one-hit wonder. Nintendo had somehow convinced millions of people that exercising in front of the television counted as gaming. And honestly, they weren't wrong. Speaking of exercising, Here it is, the game that turned living rooms into accidental bowling alleys. Wii Sports launched alongside the Nintendo Wii in 2006 and came bundled with the console in many regions. That decision was pure marketing genius. Millions of people bought a Wii and instantly owned Wii Sports. Simple, brilliant. Dangerous for nearby lamps. Tennis, baseball, bowling, golf, and boxing all used motion controls that almost anyone could understand in seconds. You didn't need years of gaming experience, you just needed enough room to avoid punching the television. A surprisingly difficult challenge. The game became a family event. Parents played it, kids played it, grandparents became bowling champions overnight. Even people who claimed they didn't play video games somehow had a favorite Wii Sports event. Bowling. It was always bowling. With over 82 million copies sold, Wii Sports remains one of the best-selling games in history. Not because it had the biggest story or the best graphics, but because it made gaming feel welcoming to everyone. Sometimes changing an industry starts with throwing a virtual bowling ball. If Wii Sports brought families together, Mario Kart Wii immediately tested those relationships. Released in 2008, it expanded Nintendo's iconic racing series with motorcycles, online multiplayer, new tracks, and enough chaos to make traffic look organized. Winning required skill, staying in first place required luck, and surviving the final lap required divine intervention, because somewhere behind you, someone was holding a blue shell. The online mode kept players racing against opponents around the world, while local multiplayer turned every weekend into a loud argument over who definitely didn't throw that banana. Sure, totally believable. The Wii Wheel accessory also made everyone feel like professional racing drivers, until they crashed into the first wall. Again. With over 37 million copies sold, Mario Kart Wii became one of Nintendo's greatest multiplayer successes and helped make online console gaming more accessible than ever. It also taught an important life lesson. Never celebrate before the finish line, especially if you hear a blue shell. Rockstar released Grand Theft Auto V in 2013. Most companies would have been thrilled if it stayed popular for a year. GTA V looked at that idea and laughed for over a decade. Set in the sprawling city of Los Santos, players switched between three very different protagonists while pulling off massive heists, causing complete mayhem, or ignoring the story entirely to see how long they could survive with a 5-star wanted level. Scientific research, obviously. Then there was GTA Online. What started as a multiplayer mode evolved into an ever-expanding world filled with businesses, races, heists, updates, and enough expensive vehicles to bankrupt fictional millionaires. Rockstar kept adding content, players kept coming back, and people somehow ended up buying the same game across multiple console generations. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PC. At this point, GTA V has traveled more than most of us. With over 215 million copies sold, it's one of the best-selling entertainment products ever created. A game released in 2013 was still topping sales charts years later. That's not normal. It's Rockstar. Imagine creating one of the greatest games ever using falling blocks. That's Tetris. Originally designed in 1984 by Alexei Pajitnov, Tetris exploded worldwide during the Game Boy era and continued selling across virtually every platform imaginable throughout the 21st century. The rules couldn't be simpler. Rotate blocks, complete lines, don't let the stack reach the top. Easy, until suddenly you're staring at one awkward S-shaped piece, wondering where your life went wrong. Tetris crossed generations because it didn't rely on realistic graphics or complicated mechanics. It relied on something far more powerful. Just one more game, which for the record has never actually meant one more game. Its success on phones, consoles, PCs, and handhelds kept the numbers climbing for decades. Combined across official releases, Tetris has sold well over 520 million copies. Let that sink in. 500 million copies for a game about organizing shapes. Meanwhile, some of us still can't organize our bedroom. And finally, the best-selling video game of all time, Minecraft. When Marcus Persson, better known as Notch, released the game in 2011, it looked incredibly simple. Everything was made of blocks, trees, mountains, animals. Even the clouds looked like they were assembled in a hurry. People laughed. Then they played it. Then they forgot to stop! Minecraft gave players something few games ever had: complete freedom. Want to survive? Go ahead. Build a tiny cabin, or a giant castle, or an exact replica of Earth. People have recreated entire cities, working computers, famous movie sets, and machines that probably shouldn't exist inside a game about punching trees. Teachers use it in classrooms. Engineers admire its creations. Kids grow up with it. Adults secretly play it too. The updates never really stopped, adding new biomes, creatures, mechanics, and reasons to tell yourself, I'll log off after I finish this one project. 3 hours later, you're still mining! With more than 300 million copies sold, Minecraft isn't just the best-selling game ever. It's a creative platform, a cultural phenomenon, and one of the most influential games in history. All because someone looked at a pile of blocks and saw infinite possibilities.
From swinging a Wii remote in your living room to placing your very first Minecraft block, these games didn't just sell millions of copies, they changed what gaming looked like for entire generations. Some introduced brand new ways to play, others refused to leave the bestseller charts for over a decade, and somehow a game about falling blocks is still competing with billion-dollar franchises. That's gaming for you. So, which of these games have you played the most, and which one deserved an even higher spot? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this countdown, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into gaming history. See you in the next one!